remember I was talking about emotions can pass through in 90 seconds. We have a short window that we can spot when people are starting to get stressed out or being prepared for what's going to be cortisol and adrenaline. And you can actually see that, and it's a flash. It happens in a quarter of a second, but you'll notice it. But the thing is, we tend to plow through it. We tend to just keep going and pushing the message. Whereas if you do that, that 90 seconds gets used up, and now you run the risk of that stressor becoming a neurobiological event. And once it becomes a neurobiological event, you're then put in a situation where you're going to have cortisol flowing. It's harder to come back. The 90 seconds, you deal with it, then it goes away. Once the cortisol starts flowing, it could take hours sometimes for the cortisol and adrenaline to subside. I showed you the diagram on the pad. So we have the 100 millisecond pre-listening period, and then we have the stimulus is detected. You have this rapid assessment, and then it gets into the reaction assembly. So this is the cognitive bias phase, and this is where it starts to consolidate and package everything for the handoff. What people don't realize is this is the energy going through the network of neurons, and in this packaging, it changes the signal. There's a transition of the signal from the energy through the neurons to thought, which is also energy. And because they're both energy, it's very easy for people to believe that this is thinking. They think this is truth. They think this is their own thoughts when it's not. These are associations from the past. And it could be 30, 40 years old, these associations. If you don't do something on purpose, deep practice, switch patterns, or what have you, they can be from years and years ago. I think you can see this in the Peter principle and things like that. You're using habits that are outdated. So we have to update that. In the 7 Performance Series, I talk about it as upgrading your identity for the new quest. And then here is the reaction. But the reason I don't want the reaction to start right away is because at 50 bits per second, it's taking a long time to come in. So at a quarter of a second, you've only processed 12 and a half bits of information compared to the 11 million per second or the 6 million that's already happened here. And by giving this a pause, whether it's 150 milliseconds or a 250 millisecond pause, what you're doing is allowing it to formulate, and you can go a step further and create, just like we create a template here, and this is all conditioning. You do it at the conditioning level. You create a template here. I like one that says, hand off an objective, clear definition of the problem. That's what I like to have my subconscious hand off. It may seem like, what? But this is, you're dealing with associations. The same way you built your habits, you can create the habits that you want. And part of that habit creation is the template. That template could be, depending on what kind of business you're in, you could have, I want a low-cost solution and a no-cost solution, a low-cost, and an ideal solution. That could be the handoff. But I like something more generic. But it could also be, what's the logical next step? You can package this template so it's not defaulting to what was when you were a kid, when this was formed, which is, oh my gosh, now what? And then I have 150 milliseconds out here. The conscious mind receives the recommended reaction. Under stress, it accepts it as is. Under clarity, the conscious mind pauses and chooses. So here's the here's the cognitive bias, here's the packaging, here's the pause, and then here's the reception of it. And that's all 1 second.